Hello there everybody, this is Gwyneth Isaacs speaking here. We are feeding kittens. So I thought I'd make a video. That's, oh gosh, what am I going to talk about today? Chickens are so happy in their new chicken yard. I'm so happy about that. I've also made another enclosed area, garden. I'm happy about that. The problem here, I was watching a video today on YouTube, and the person who made this video had just come across from the UK and moved into somewhere in Brisbane and was saying about all the wildlife. Well, yeah, the wildlife's great, but Australian wildlife, it occurs nowhere else in the world, so I suppose if you come from somewhere else, then it can have its novelty value, but, you know, when you're trying to grow things, it can be a little bit of a hassle. I've shown you fellas plenty of videos in the past of the damage that the rats have done to my cactuses, and also, you know, tree aeoniums. Try growing tree aeoniums anywhere, even a little bit away from the house. Good luck to you there. Probably not going to happen. They're going to get demolished by the swamp wallabies. I'm saying this so that when people move into the countryside, that they will have a bit more of an idea of what they're getting themselves into, because, you know, this is what you have to deal with. So I've come to an answer of making these enclosed gardens and chicken yards and so on and so forth. And it's expensive. It is. What can you do? You know, if you want to grow anything here, then you're going to have an enclosed space to do it. And the easiest way is a round yard, chicken wire and star posts, or bird mesh and star posts. But that's just how it is. You've got to just go with that and realise that you're not going to be able to probably do massive open gardens that are not enclosed. Probably, I've been trying to do that for years and it's never worked, because there's the wildlife out there and they think that you've installed the vegetable department at Woolworths just for them. Of course you haven't. You don't want them to eat your beautiful plants, but they do. So that's going to be the next project, one of the next projects. Also, I'm busy making another little fernery shade house, greenhouse. So I might show you that afterwards or in another video. I'm just waiting for the kittens to finish their lunch at the moment. So that's what I've been doing. And I was doing a government-funded course. Here in Australia, the government doesn't just allow you to sit around on your hiney collecting unemployment checks. They make you go out and get work, or they make you, or at least look for work, or they make you do a course, which is fair enough. You know, how a lot of people live and seem to collect unemployment checks and not doing very much at all. I don't know. I couldn't stand to live that life. This is Australia, by the way. You got flies. So this is the Aussie salute. I think I've mentioned that a few times. But they did put me onto a course in business administration, and I hated it. And I stuck it out for at least 6 months. I hated it. I couldn't stand doing that for a career. There's a few reasons why. One of them is DEI propaganda. That's one reason why. Another reason, which basically meant, yay, let's all make a rainbow-coloured and pink and brown and blue and flag. Let's see how many colours we can jam into one flag and it'll still be okay. And I looked at that and I went, oh my God, I'm not doing it. And that was when I lost it. You know, and you know, I gotta explain something here. I've lived in a number of Aboriginal areas. I've lived among the Māori in New Zealand. Speak a little bit of Māori, you know, since childhood. I'm not against indigenous tribal people, but oh my gosh, you know, this whole inclusiveness, welcome to country every 5 seconds, absolutely ridiculous. Oh, you know, and Amnesty International. Don't get me started on Amnesty International. You know, somehow things happening to 9-year-old girls in Pakistan, which destroys their internal parts forever, is not a problem. But they've got these stickers saying, Aboriginal land always was, always will be. Amnesty International, with an Aboriginal flag and a little Amnesty International candle on it. This video will probably get me massively, you know, restricted on YT, but I don't really care because this is how it is. There haven't been any Aboriginal people here locally since about 1856. So it's what, almost 170 years. They got wiped out in an incident that had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with me or any member of my family, because I'm the first generation of people to live in this area. You know, I think I've said it in numerous. If you go on my early YouTube videos, you'll see my early YouTube videos getting filmed in Geraldton, West Australia. That's where my family's from. And my dad, you know, was doing genuine Christian missionary work, learned Wodgery. And when Mum and Dad moved from Geraldton to New Zealand, and about a year later, give or take a few months, I was born. But before they moved, they were just given a huge the volume of gifts by the Yamaji, the tribe that lives around Geraldton. You know, yeah, I spent my childhood playing with little carved stumpy tail lizards. They're children's toys that the Yamaji people make for their children out of bits of wood, and they carve it, and they get a hot piece of copper pipe and they put it into the fire, and then they make little half moon shapes all across the back of it to represent the scales of the stumpy tail. And I used to play with that when I was a child, and toy snakes, toy lizards, all these sorts of things. And Mum and Dad used to get them out and let me play with them because that was their intended use. They were children's toys. And, warmerers, spear throwers. I grew up with Aboriginal artefacts in the household that Mum and Dad were given by the Yamaji tribe from Geraldton to thank them for their work, for the betterment of the Yamaji people. But there haven't been any Aboriginal people here for 169 or 170 years because they were wiped out in an incident called the Sunday Morning Hills incident. Had nothing to do with me. There's no Aboriginal people here. They were all wiped out, all of them. No descendants at all, in an incident that had nothing whatsoever to do with me. And then I come along at that time, about 158 years later or whatever it was, bought the land. Well, what was the land supposed to be abandoned forever after that incident happened, after that massacre happened? No, the land's going to still be there. The land's going to be used by the next population. And by the way, there was a reason, I found out from locals, there was a reason why the Sunday Morning Hills thing happened, because the tribe that lived here, which was a branch of the Jajawarang people, they were robbing people as they were travelling through the forest, and the people in the local town had enough with their people getting robbed every time they walked through or rode their horses or drove carriages through the forest. Up the back there, the road's still there. The Jajawarang, that particular branch of the Jajawarang, had probably been taught how to do highway robberies by Captain Melville, because one of Captain Melville's favourite robbery spots was down the bottom corner of my land. So that's quite interesting, I'm interested, being a reincarnated highwaywoman myself, the reincarnation of Lady Catherine Ferrers. I was quite interested. I didn't know at the time when I bought this land about down the bottom of the block being the one of the main ambush sites of Captain Melville, who Captain Melville was, who Lady Catherine Ferrers was, or any of that. But, Captain Melville, no doubt, for sure met the local people, the local Aboriginal tribe. And, they began robbing people as well. They probably thought, that's a good way to make a living. That's probably what they thought, And those sheep ranches, sheep farmers were moving in, cutting off a lot of access to the land, And the sheep farmers and the Jajawarong initially, got on all right, as long as the Jajawarong didn't start spearing sheep, which probably started to happen. And then the local sheep farmers would have gotten annoyed about that, and so they, that and the highway robbery wasn't a matter of racism or, anything like that. It was just that they got to robbing people on the highway. And that was the backstory, according to locals that I've spoken to here in this area, around Wedderburn, Inglewood, St Arnaud area, of why the Sunday Morning Hills massacre happened. Why that tribe, why that branch of the Jajawarong was wiped out. And it was because they were doing highway robberies of coaches and, people walking and travelling and riding horses and all that through the forest. And they did what anybody would do for anyone who was facing that problem. They went out and they got them. And they gave them a capital punishment. That's what they did. I did the same. Captain Melville was arrested, eventually. Famous highwayman. Had his, hideout up at Melville's Caves. I'll have to go up there sometime and show all of you fellas. Melville's Caves. It's walking distance from here. Afternoon hike. It's not like, well, it kind of is just down the road, but, it's a bit of a hike, but not undoable. So they arrested Captain Melville back in the day, and they executed him. Or they didn't actually. He was due to be executed, and he ended himself in his jail cell at the old Melbourne jail, which was the Melbourne jail at that time. He ended himself before they could end him. But Captain Melville taught the locals how to do highway robberies, and the local Aborigines were doing highway robberies, and the people at Wedderburn one Sunday morning when all the ladies were in church, the gentlemen rode out on their horses and with their firearms, and they wiped out the whole tribe. All of them. That's got nothing to do with me. That happened, 158 something years before I even was 157, 158 years before I even got here. I'm so fed up with DEI. One group's taken over another group takes over another group takes over another group. Usually, if you get down to the tin tacks of it, the group that got taken over was doing something wrong. In the case of the Jajawarong up the back there, they were doing highway robberies, according to the locals in Wedderburn. His families probably were there, but not my family. And so it wasn't just a random thing of, let's go out and kill some people. No, they didn't. That's not how it went. They were doing highway robbery. They got Captain Melville. They locked him up in a jail cell, put him on a capital sentence, and when he realised that he wasn't going to get away this time, then he ended himself before they could end him. That was the fate of Captain Melville. Yeah? But the Aborigines, that's what happened to them. And you'll usually find that not in every case, but in many cases where there is a pogrom that wipes out or nearly wipes out a particular nation, there's something going on in the background. And, otherwise some other group steps in, and something happens which prevents them from being totally wiped out. Now, there are genocides that are without cause, without reason, and that come from pure bloodlust and a certain cult that wears towels on their heads. They're guilty of a great number of those, But in this case, there was a reason why the Sunday Morning Hills massacre happened. And that was the reason why it happened. Because the local Aboriginal tribe was robbing travellers in the highway. And the locals decided that they'd had enough. And one Sunday morning, rode out here from Wedderburn and wiped them all out. That's just a bit of local history, a bit of local background. Like I say, I'm not against the Aboriginal people. I think that it's absolutely remarkable how indigenous tribal groups manage to live out here with nothing, no outside help, for thousands of years. That is absolutely remarkable. Were they perfect little darlings? No. When you hear the backstories of so many incidents, there's usually more than one side to most stories. Do I hate the Jar Jar Warren? No. That would be stupid. I don't hate the Jar Jar Warren. Why would I hate them? They've never done anything to me. But you can't hold any one group up on a pedestal and say, oh, well, this group, we've got to handle them, we've got to mollycoddle them. No. Treat everybody as human beings and recognise that human beings are the most amazing creatures, I think, that have ever been on this earth. That your brain is one of the most complicated assemblages of matter that has ever been. That we humans are really capable of great evil, and we're especially capable of great evil against each other. And we can't keep too much of a tally. So this group or that group is evil, unless like Muslims, that their writings for hundreds or thousands of years actually say you know. This group that's really done nothing to us is guilty because they wouldn't let us kill him. They stood up for themselves. So we are sworn for all eternity to wipe them out, which is basically what the Islamic texts say about other groups. And when those other groups decide they've had enough and decide to stand up, oh, the poor little babies, you can't hurt them. You know, people have a right to stand up for themselves. You can't overly treasure any one particular group. There we go. God bless you all, and I'll see you later.